So I was out on my travels this weekend, and I managed to get to two collectibles stores, one of which is a fairly sort of common stopping off point for me in Wales, but the other was my first visit. So this I got from Rhos Point, sort of antiques and collectibles, and it's the sort of store that I always go into, never knowing what I'm going to find, and I found this. And those of you of a certain age will immediately recognise this as the Liberator from the Blake 7 TV series. It was a science fiction series done by the BBC. I would say late 70s. And quite dark for the time. Not like, gratuitously nasty or anything, but dark enough that as a child, I think it was quite scary for me. But it had this ship in it, and you may well have seen me show you another example of this, but I'm going to compare the two. But this was released by Corgi. It is typically you are missing these spikes, which are neutron blasters. It flies this way. That's forwards. I used to fly it the other way all the time because when I was little, I couldn't appreciate the difference. But the drive unit is the green ball, and the weapon systems are at the front. They're neutron blasters, I believe. So nice to have a white one. Very difficult to find completely intact with all the spikes there. They are often bent, as these are slightly, but they are still there, which is a distinct bonus. This is my other example of it. And for some reason, it was released in these two colours schemes. The one I've just shown you is by far and away the best match for the actual series. And yet, for some reason, we also got this sort of silvery blue with yellow spikes version of it as well, which looks nothing like the one in the series. So, there they are both. We can see they're identical moulds. It's purely the colouring that's the difference, even though there is absolutely no reason whatsoever for colouring them differently. I don't know why they ever released two of them, because it is what it is. But if these are all original parts, then it does mean that you could potentially use one as a donor for the other one. Just thinking in terms of the green plastic ball element there. But I'd say both Corgi, both very, very similar ages. So nice to have an example of both. And as I say, quite hard to find with all their... I'm actually looking at the white one now, and there's a tiny, tiny spike on the end of that one, which the yellow one doesn't have. And actually looking at it, it looks like it might well have broken off. So this white one is actually in better condition than this one, it would appear, ironically, happily. So but it's a nice one to completely randomly pick up when I wasn't looking for it. Just one of the many, many reasons that it can be worthwhile just wandering into these places to see what they've got. In a similar vein, I also picked up this. And for those not familiar, this is Face's Corvette from the A-Team. It wasn't quite as popular as, or as well known perhaps as the iconic black van that BA drives the team around in. But I was telling the store owner that I remember having a much bigger version of this, which had sort of pop-out guns from the side of the doors and stuff like that. It was a sort of weaponized version. But I'm just looking at this for the first time. Now, that's interesting because I thought that my black van version of this was an Ertl. I can't. Oh yes, I think it. Now this is one of those times when you might be able to see it better than I can, but there might be Ertl wording just here that I can't quite make out even with my glasses on. But I think it is Ertl. But there's just a big sort of copyright spiel there for whoever actually owns the rights to it. But anyway, it's nice to have. So now I'll have that alongside my my BA Baracus van, which is cool. Now then, so Plastic Crack Collectables was the next place that I visited, and here I picked up something which is almost traditional now when I pop into these stores, which is a Star Wars mini rig. Because I have an Imperial Shuttle mini rig. But I did not have this chap, but I think I had this when I was little. This is an Int 4. Apparently it was some sort of aerial interceptor, but I don't think it was ever in the original trilogy of movies, or indeed possibly any other trilogy. I think this was something that Kenner came up with just to sell, basically. And in fact, I've seen a different model where it had sort of guns on it here, but the Kenner model doesn't have that. I always thought of this as a sort of what would happen if K9 had wings. If you know K9 from Doctor Who, you'll immediately get the reference. But basically, he's got this nice sort of big gun here, which seems to be intact, touch wood. It's a little wobbly. It can fit a standard Star Wars action figure in its cockpit in there. So they were usable. They were properly affordable little Star Wars toys of the day, rather than you having to fork out huge amounts for the Millennium Falcons and so on. And it still clicks shut very, very convincingly. The wings come up and down, so you can bring the wings up and down like that, which is similar play feature to the Imperial Shuttle, which I've shown you before. I think unfortunately I'm missing a sticker there, which I didn't notice at the time, but it wasn't massively expensive because it didn't come with a box. But generally speaking, for display purposes, I can glue that back down again. But for display purposes, which is the exact reason I got it, it'll do quite happily because I won't be able to see the missing sticker from the angle I put it on the shelf at. So that was a nice thing to pick up. I've been meaning to get one for a little while. Now then. Yeah. You know they say sort of collect what you like, right? I can't even say I particularly like him, but I remember him. Bucky O'Hare. It was a cartoon, various anthropomorphic animals in it, set in space. But I think it was at a time when I was coming out of my toy era. I kind of remember the cartoon. And I remember it being quite sort of out there. It was quite I wouldn't say it's a modern cartoon, but it was sort of post-80s when they were just starting to be a bit more adventurous. And Bucky here, I think, was a bit of a renegade, but I thought I quite like this because he's got two guns, so I assume that's all the accessories he ever came with. He's got a decent cape on the back of him, so I imagine this is quite a nice example of him. And it's one of those things, I have no idea if I've overpaid for him. I don't know if he's got any sort of real collectability to him, but I just he made me chuckle. He made me chuckle, so I thought, yeah, I'm gonna grab you because I don't think I've ever seen him before. Oh, and if I have, probably not with the guns. So, yeah, just a little something to make myself giggle, really. I also picked up something in a box, and I'm going to do a completely different video on that because it needs it because it's so deeply random. So you'll know it when you see it, and it'll probably come out not long after this one. Excuse me. On a different note, I also got this. And this, as you can see, is quite an old Lego set, wrapped up in cellophane. And the reason I got this was that this took me right back to my childhood, because I think this is probably one of the last Lego sets, normal sort of small Lego sets that I ever got. Because I remember this sort of snaky arm bit and the sort of the tail there. And I remember that being a classic sort of digger hollow brick that I used to use in a lot of stuff. And it's got that I always liked to use as a sort of laser cannon for the astronauts. And I'm not sure that I've got a yellow astronaut at the moment. I might have one in the new Lego Cruiser set that I've got. But basically, that is classic space for me. It's kind of slightly after classic space, but it's still very much the grey, sort of the grey pieces that they used to use at that point in time. So I'm hoping it's reasonably complete, and I will probably try and make this up on camera at some point. But yeah, just a nice one to have, and it's nice that I've got the images from the back of the box there as well. I think this is the box it originally came in. It's just been flattened for display for whatever reason. So it'll be interesting to have a look at that, and that will take me right back putting that together. And the last thing that I picked up, appropriately enough for a place that sells plastic stuff, is this. For those of you not young enough to know what this is Jonesy from Fortnite. Didn't get this from me, got this from my son. He'll probably say, I'm too old for Fortnite now, Dad. But I quite liked it because it's got a fair bit of articulation going. His head doesn't move, which is weird, but his legs do, and he hasn't got any knees. But he's huge. He's quite, that's a big figure. That's more like a sort of, arguably he's taller than an Action Man sort of figure used to be back in the day. So, it's just something for a little giggle, really. It's more like a stocking filler thing, But yeah, I thought that was quite cool. There is all sorts in there. You'll see I'm going to do a much longer video on the Plastic Crack store, because there is a shed load of stuff in there. So, again, do keep an eye open for that one, because I'll be doing another full-length tour video, which I know are quite popular with people, I think. And you can have a look at the full range of what they've got in there on that one. And, as I say, look out for another video on a very random item that I picked up from that store as well, which will probably leave you dazed and bemused as it did me. So that's it for now. Do like and subscribe as ever, and cheers for now.